We're going to look at the skin, integumentary system in chapter 5. This figure shows a lot of the main parts. This shows microscopic views of the skin. For microscopic views of the skin, look up skin histology on Google Images. And this shows a nice close-up of the different layers of the epidermis and some of the cells in the epidermis. You have different models of skin. They show some things, one shows some of the things better than others. And the main layers are the epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. On this model, you have the epidermis. It's thicker here. This shows the epidermis in the palms and the soles. It's a little bit thicker. There's the dermis. And then this bubbly stuff at the bottom is hypodermis. And this model, again, epidermis is really thin, dermis, and hypodermis. And the epidermis has different layers. This model shows the outermost layer, the stratum corneum. This layer is called the stratum spinosum, or stratum granulosum. That's the stratum granulosum. This thicker layer here, that's the stratum spinosum. This model I like because it shows the stratum basal really well. That's a stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, and the stratum corneum. This model shows all the layers of the epidermis. This outermost layer is the stratum corneum. It's thicker in the palms and the soles. In the palms and the soles, that's the only place you can see the stratum lucidum. And underneath that is the stratum granulosum, the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basal. Between the dermis and the epidermis, you have these folds called the dermal papillae. And you can see these folds right here, the dermal papillae. One thing that does is it gives you fingerprints or friction ridges. You have nerve cells called corpuscles of touch, or Meissner's corpuscles. Those are in the very superficial parts of the dermis. And here's a Meissner's corpuscle or corpuscle of touch here. Middle part of the hair is the hair shaft. Material around the hair shaft, that's a hair follicle. Associated with hairs, you have oil glands or sebaceous glands. There's another one. And there are muscles associated with hairs called erector pili muscles or piloerector muscles. They give you goosebumps or chill bumps. This is a sudoriferous gland or sweat gland. This is another nerve cell in the hypodermis. This area is a hypodermis, that's adipose tissue. This nerve cell is a Pacinian corpuscle, gives you a sense of heavy or deep pressures. And you see some of the same structures on this other model. And I pointed out the Meissner's corpuscles or corpuscles of touch earlier. There's a hair shaft. Stuff around the hair shaft is a hair follicle. Here's an oil gland, sweat gland, Pacinian corpuscle gives you a sense of heavier touches, another sweat gland. this model, and hair shaft, hair follicle, oil gland, sebaceous gland, Meissner corpuscle or corpuscle of touch, erector pili muscles, sweat gland. And this is adipose tissue in the hypodermis. Got a good view of a Pacinian corpuscle or lamellated corpuscle.